Just a quick sound check. Can you hear me? Thanks.
Place, but I'm having trouble getting over the Sierras.
Holes. Practicing so often.
One train was 32 hours late. I said I'd skip that one. Usually it's really good. You know, first class, it's really comfortable. You get a room with a bathroom. Meals are really good. First class is on time? Oh, yeah, they speed that one up. I suppose. Catch the other ones later. But that's just, they got 50 feet of snow this year. And so they've had trouble getting over down. See if I can get out. I don't. Just get some busy in one. I saw the insurance there. Jeremiah, what do you think?
Everybody showing up? All right.
Maybe. It's nice one, though.
I was around them yesterday.
Oh, no.
Monday, so I hope. But he might not have something that's terrible.
Yeah. So it's on death's door. Okay. That's good. Good.
That's the part that got to me. I don't want to. He's younger than I am.
Yeah. Yeah, not a good place to be at all. All right, well, it's 6:30 and I'm going to call this meeting to order. Let's stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right, can we have a roll call, please?
You're not here? Smart.
Here.
Here. Trustee Valentine? Trustee Weber?
Here.
Trustee Smith? Here. Trustee Stelter? We have a quorum.
All right, so we can continue. First thing on the agenda is the correspondence received. Is there anything the board would like to make comment on or act on or move to a further agenda?
There's just one thing on the BLM open house comment.
Yeah.
They kind of chastised us for not showing up. We were doing interviews at the same time. I have trouble splitting my personalities.
Or your body or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, agree. Okay, all right, and next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Move that we approve the agenda.
We have a second? Second. Discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, that motion passes. Next up is announcements. I don't have any announcements. Does anyone else?
I have one. As of today, I'm off the finance committee because am not getting the kind of information that I need in order to do my job properly. I went down to the bank to see if I could be pulled off as a signatory, but that requires it be in the minutes. Sam, can you make sure that gets in the minutes so I can take that down to? So the position's open for anyone on council that wants it.
Okay, well, we get everybody back and in the room. I guess we'll put that back up on the agenda. In the meantime, I have signatory authority as well as Paige, so we're covered.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, all right, any other announcements? All right, seeing none, let's move on to public comment. Would anyone like to address the board on something that is not on the agenda? I remind you that please be civil and that you have 3 minutes. Yes, Ms. Watson.
Suzanne Watson. I'm going to be making a core request of each trustee. You all are custodian of your phone and the records there too, thereon. The mayor has been calling board members privately to discuss town business, and I'm very interested in a specific period of time. This request is not able to be fulfilled by our custodian, the clerk, because she's not able to go on your phones. So I'm unsure of the process at this point. I tried contacting town hall today and I wasn't able to confer with the clerk. So right now I'm going to be serving these records requests to I've one's written out, I can handwrite them to Mary Bachman, Dave Knudsen, Rick Stelter, and Paige Smith, and I'll have the rest written out by the end of this meeting. Sam, would you like me to give these to you, or should I hand them individually? So I can say they've been received. In fact, I think I'll hand them individually so they can be received, and you can give them back to
Yes, they need to go back to Sam.
Okay, but you've received it. Dave is not here.
Rick is not here.
And Rick is not here. And Paige, you're here. And I wish I could have copied them. It would have been a lot easier, but there's also a note there on the town, the records request about emails. It says when the email is open, it's considered received. So how do I know if a trustee is even going to open an email, especially if they know it's coming from me and it's about a core request? I think that's problematic. You can also have your own individual policy as a custodian of your records, and I'm unaware of any at this point in time. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the board on something that is not on the agenda? All right. Then let's move on to the consent agenda, and I'll get a motion to.
Move to approve the consent
All right, do you
agenda.
have a second?
Second. Would like to state that I did not review the disbursements, so I cannot be sure of their completeness or accuracy, but I do trust Paige and Mary.
Okay, I think and I did review the disbursement and did all the double checking. All right, any discussions? All right, yeah, Thomas.
Yeah, regarding disbursements as well, I think this is the second meeting in a row where they've been missing or not included in the packet anyhow. I understand their extenuating circumstances, but I would like to see them. I didn't receive them by email this time. Last time they were emailed separately.
Right. Extenuating circumstances.
Okay. Yeah. Just no, thank you.
Okay, very well. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion passes. All right, next up is staff reports. Let's start out with you, Leslie.
Yeah, I just have some updates. We had our water and sewer meeting today, and the JDS Hydro is putting together a letter to you to update the town on the moratorium with progress. And that should be at your next meeting. And then the survey for the priorities got put up on the website today. I'm late, I know, but it's up. And Ruben tested it and found a typo, and I fixed it, and we're all good. And then I want to let you know that at the end of April, the last week, you have a board meeting, and then I am leaving Wednesday for our professional conference, the Colorado City County Managers Conference. And then I am flying to Pittsburgh overnight to attend my daughter's graduation for the University of Pittsburgh Master's in Nursing. And I won't be back till the following Tuesday. So I'm hoping not to work that whole time.
Well, I don't know. We have been grants that are due. That is good.
That works.
Yes. All right, yes.
Leslie, I was wondering if you could give a brief update on the status of any grant applications or fund applications for the water system.
So Mary's loan was accepted as, the water application was accepted as complete, and we have a pre-qualification conference with CDPHE at 1:00 on April 13th. That'll mostly be engineers and public works people talking. And then we're submitting a tier 1 grant for the Dora sewer line and some equipment to upgrade the wastewater treatment plant. It'll be $100,000 grant request. We have $100,000 cash budgeted to match that. And that's due Monday. Mary is working on that. Mary has submitted, or you've written a planning grant for the water, the hydrogeology study, and I think Mary's preparing the other grant applications for that.
Yeah, for the Colorado Water Conservation Board, that is due Friday, and
Right.
that's going to be 140,000.
And then we'll probably-
Hydrogeology.
So the tier 1 is at their DOLA.
Yeah,
The tier 1, yeah. And then we're gonna submit a Colorado River District application in for their July cycle. I think it's due.
Actually, we could submit that when it's done because they have a rolling deadline. If they're under $50,000, rolling deadline, so whenever we get that sucker done,
We'll do that.
and that'll be for 20.
And I do want to mention, it was quite a bit of planning to try and get this hydrogeology study figured out, because we kept having this discussion. I like to think of things linear because it's so much clearer. But I was thinking, hydrogeology study, spring redevelopment. Then we realized that some of the spring redevelopment depends on the hydrogeology study. So we're kind of stepping those together. That is the only way I could describe it. And then what else? Getting something?
No, there's the sewer state revolving fund loan.
Yeah, so we're sorting out some improvements that we're adding on to that you don't know about yet, which I'll tell you when we get that sorted out. That beyond just replacing the clay pipe, it's about $2 million worth of stuff. And we haven't discussed it yet with the engineers to make sure that that's exactly what we should be doing. And then we'll apply for $1 million in tier 1, 2 funds in August.
Yeah.
Did I catch? Oh, and at some point, I'm gonna put in a FEMA application for generators for you. Those are rolling, so there's no deadline.
And the tier 2 million or the tier $1 million grant is going to be matching funds. It's going to go toward the SRF loan. So it'll reduce the amount of the loan.
Your tier 2 grant, right?
2 tiers. You can go up to 2.
Yeah, So
if we're getting generators, is the micro hydro still in?
no, we finally got a real report from them and it will not generate enough electricity.
So it wasn't enough juice for that.
Yeah, even their big.
Make it cost.
Thank you.
I think the good news is that we are continuing to get more and more factual information and a clearer and clearer plan forward. Because as you know, Dave, this is very complex. All these different water and sewer types, they interrelate and they're very complex. What you fix first, and we're continuing to get clearer how we proceed.
Any other questions for Leslie? All right. And let's move on. So we have public works report, just the spring cleanup request.
But you, Corey.
Yeah, so I kind of submitted the flyer. I kind of need you guys to okay the dates or pick some dates that work for you guys. Hopefully we don't push them out too far to where it's right before some of the events in the parks and that, because that's what we did last year and it made it real difficult to keep up with both. So if you guys don't like those dates, I'm open to any changes or suggestions, but the sooner the better for Public Works.
Good with them. Isn't that an administrative decision, not a board decision too?
I asked Corey to run it by you just to make sure it was going to work for you.
Dave?
It's his business.
Well, I just want you to know that we did not budget for cleanup day in 2023. And the reason for that is because we had to raise rates for the trash service. And essentially, this as proposed cleanup day requires people are getting free service for the pickup of their dishwasher, stoves, washing machines, and dryers. So and to me, a policy was set when we did not ask for a cleanup day, simply because we just had to raise rates and we need to make sure that we can meet our expenses. And so I'm just saying that it's not an approved use of sewer or trash money.
Is it possible for us to figure out how much it will cost to pick up and dispose of each item and then tell people on the flyer what it would be? Because I think some people will be willing to pay for something just to get rid of it.
These things.
If I can add on to that. And Corey, I'm probably speaking for you, but I was just looking at our rates. So if one person can pick up the large item, it's $20. If it takes two, it's 30. If it takes three, it's 40 to pick up that large item. And one of the things I think we could do in lieu of maybe giving, well, first of all, I don't think we can give a free service. We are not in a position to give away a free service to our people that have just had their rates raised. And so early in the year when we don't know what our budget's going to be and if we're going to make the budget. But a lot of the things that are on the flyer as acceptable items are acceptable all the time. Microwaves are acceptable, vacuums, blenders, toasters, small appliances can be put in your trash as normal trash, according to the website. The only thing you have to pay for would be chairs and these heavier appliances. So my thought was, go ahead and have a cleanup day and either tell people they're going to be charged for those big things, because most people don't know that they can put out an old dryer and it will be picked up for an extra charge, because most people don't know what our rates are. So I think this could kind of be beefed up a little bit to say, we're going to do a cleanup day. We're going to have to charge you for these items. Please do not put any of the unacceptable items in, but this is a really great opportunity to really beef up the fact that there is that drop off at Safeway. I've done that before. They charge you for it, but it's a great way to get rid of electronics, because the town can't take them because you can't take them to the landfill. It would cost us money.
Yes.
So
I just want to note that the transfer station on K50 Road between us and Hotchkiss, south and then west, takes all kinds of metal waste, and that includes things like dishwashers, stoves, washing machines, dryers, maybe vacuums and that kind of stuff. And it's metal based. You can drop it off for free. Down there, there's a 20-yard dumpster where you just pitch it in next to it, and they gotta take the dump and take it away for you. So, and then it'll be recycled instead of going to the landfill.
Yeah.
And maybe we should ask, Corey, do you know if everything is taken to the landfill? Do they recycle it as well as a transfer station?
I don't think that anything that goes on our trash truck, they don't, as far as I know, they don't sort it. It just all goes into the same pile.
So with that in mind, I don't know with what you just said, Thomas. I've never taken a big thing of metal to the transfer station.
It's a lot of fun. Let's try it.
Yeah, well.
Yeah,
I used to take my recycling, but it's all about staff having to pick up a heavy item. And in this case, a heavy item that is probably extra wear and tear on our trash trucks, and you can't get as much in if you pick up a heavy item, I'm assuming. So, and Dave has his hand up. Let me just say one last thing, and that is, I'm not against a cleanup day. We did not budget to have free services for our users. So that's my bottom line.
I'll work with Corey. We can figure that out.
Hey,
If I'm remembering properly, I think the main problem was cleanup last time was when we had dumpsters in the parks. and we hauled off those dumpsters, and that's what we were not budgeting for. I see what Corey's trying to do here is a great benefit for the town. Really helps make the town appear a lot better. And I think it's a really good idea to move forward with it without a bunch of preconditions. Thanks.
See, my memory is we budgeted $3,000 for cleanup.
Last year.
So, this flyer doesn't say free.
We can, Corey and I can.
Yeah, I mean, where's it say free on it? Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, we need to pull that off possibly and just charge a regular thing, but have the town clean up.
And
Paige is right, we are tight on trash.
And I just wanted to qualify what trustee Knudsen said. Last year, we budgeted 3,000 and we spent 4173. And it was the year before when people could take it to the park, which was stopped because anybody that wanted to could drop anything they wanted at the park. It became a household hazardous waste collection area, and that got stopped very quickly. So I just want everyone to understand the progression of things. But we did overspend the $3,000 last year, to the tune of another $1,173. So.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, Leslie and Corey will work it out.
And I'm gonna tack one more thing on Corey. So after consultation and some new information about preserving our easement under the railroad track, we have decided we're not going to cap off that water line, that they are going to drill under the track, replace the line, put it in a casing to protect it from the vibration of the train, and probably put valves on either side so they can shut it off easier if this happens again. The issue is that from the railroad standpoint, they may consider us capping off that line as abandoning our easement, and we need to preserve our easement. So we talked with Nick, and that was the final answer. That will be a more expensive fix. And Corey's getting estimates. Did you have anything to add to that, Corey?
No, that pretty much covered it.
Is the utility easement distinct from the road easement then?
So we are unaware that there's an actual recorded easement, and Jeremiah looked at the Delta County records. They sent him some records, but none of them were held by the town of Paonia that had the railroad name in it. Typically, those easements are very old and they're prescriptive. But we don't want to give up at this point, we can claim a prescriptive easement, so that's why we want to preserve it.
All right.
Thank you.
So let's move on to town clerk, request for action on a sewer tap relinquishment. Sam.
It's just one of those things that we don't have anything in the code that tells us.
I want to stop for a second to take a second here to recognize Jordan Red. Yeah, he's not in the room, nor is he on the line, but he did an incredible job and got the second highest score ever seen on his sewer test. And so
In the state.
Wow.
And so
That's cool.
just amazing. And so
Congrats.
Jordan really deserves recognition for that. So, all right, now Sid, on to you.
Hey, that was a great reason to get it. But there's just nothing in the code that tells us how to do it. That in the past, if somebody wanted to relinquish a tap, and it's not tapped into a line or anything, it's just that they have the right to do it. They just had to write something stating that they knew they weren't going to receive anything for it. In this case, these people just bought the property and they didn't understand why they were getting a bill from us. They didn't even know they had it. And what they have an almost brand new septic system. And so they discussed it and they're like, yeah, we'd rather not be paying, $55 a month for something we're not going to use. So I just need guidance from you guys on if that's how I should have them do it, or if there's a different way, just because we don't have anything in the code.
We had one of these in the early 2000s and we just went ahead and relinquished the sewer tap. So that's just the history. It's up to the board to do how they want.
Okay, well, that's what I needed.
I move that we establish a relinquishment procedure in accordance with historical guidelines as described.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Discussion from the board?
Second. Just makes sense to me.
Okay.
As long as there's no applications, I don't see anything.
Okay. Anything from the public? Okay, Paige?
I just wondered, did you mean just to create a policy or would you like amendment to the code itself?
It's the policy at this point, unless Nick thinks that an amendment to the ordinance would be necessary.
What do you think, Nick?
I don't think it's necessary to have a relinquishment policy codified by ordinance. I think in the code, it talks about standby taps and when somebody must pay for them, but I think it's reasonable to suggest if someone's not going to use it and doesn't begin using it, that doesn't need to go into the code. So I would suggest that just a policy that's consistent with historical practices would be just fine.
All right, thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion passes. All right, now we have a request for action, town hall closure for the IT upgrade. Sam, back to you. Finish typing?
Yeah. So I was talking with phones and they're getting ready to move us over to our new things, which is basically taking us off of the physical server and putting us. It's to do with the new regulations that came down to security, but it's going to take a while to change the data over. We're not exactly sure on the date yet, but because it would be a town hall closure day, I wanted to run it by you guys. I know we would try our best not to do it on a Monday because that's a busy day for people coming in. But we won't have access to computers or our phones because our phones are attached to our computers. That doesn't mean it has to be, I mean, it can still be a work day unless people want to use their personal time, but we won't have, I mean, most of the things that people call us and ask us for have to do with the computers. Well, and then they couldn't call either. So we could either close it and do some housekeeping things while that transfer is taking place, because they want to start it. They want to do it over a weekend because it'll take a weekend. So they were talking about either maybe closing on a Friday, going through the weekend, or even like a half day on Friday and a half day on Monday. They're trying to make it to where it's not going to interfere too much with our business stuff, but we have to give the data time to transfer.
Preference from the board? Yeah, Dave.
When I was doing this for the businesses in town, I do it over a weekend. So that the business could continue its normal.
Well, and they're hoping that will be possible, but they want to make sure that just in case it does take a little bit longer, that we're not in trouble.
Well, it seems to me Fridays are kind of slow. So Friday would be big times.
Yeah, do we have an actual date that they're intending to do this?
We don't yet. They're supposed to give me a call this week. They're almost ready to move. And then we just set a date. I just wanted to make sure it was on your guys' radar and ready to go so that when he does call and he's ready to go, we can actually get something set up. And I would of course let you guys know, and we put it out on the website and stuff so people would know that we wouldn't be available those days, but that's all I have right now.
Just a matter of feedback. I think Fridays make sense. Yeah.
I don't know, it'll be the best day, yeah.
If they set it up beforehand and have it tested, it's just a swap out. In other words, instead of trying to do the actual implementation here, have them set it up on the bench in Phones Plus, and then just do a swap out.
Yes, thanks.
Before we get finished with the clerk stuff, I wanted to recognize, I think it's the last meeting, Sam's work on the packets, adding links, clickable links to the agenda at the top, and return back home is awesome. And in the same time, I want to thank Ruben for his work setting up electronic fillable forms on our website. I think we're completely done now. So all of our forms are available online and fillable.
All of them that were already available on the website are fillable, and he's now working on other ones that we use regularly, but we wanted to get those done first.
There's no other forms to be done. But thank you both.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, moving on.
Hey, Mary, I've had my hand up for a little while.
Okay, I'm sorry, Dave. I
This
apologize.
is regarding the IT update. I just want to have the staff, I'm wondering, about how often the system is backed up and how well we're protected against ransomware. Thank you.
Okay, do we have an answer for that?
Sorry, what was that?
Backup.
Yeah.
So he wants to know about backups, how we do our
And how
backups,
it protects against ransomware?
whether we're doing the cloud or physical or.
I don't know the answers to that, but I'd be more than happy to get that information from Phones and send it to you all.
Okay. All right, moving on. Number one, presentation and consideration of entertainment districts and common consumption areas to be allowed here. Gentlemen.
Hello. My name's Brad Thibodeau. I have a couple of sellers here in town. And yeah, we would like the town to move forward with approving common consumption areas and entertainment districts. We had a proposal in the agenda, but the first step is to put our lawyer in touch with the town and for the town to agree that we want these entertainment districts and common consumption areas. Basically what this allows is for right now, the way tasting rooms work for established wineries, breweries, or distilleries in the state, they're not allowed to commingle together. So that's partly why this was put in place. This was also put in place to where retail businesses and breweries or distilleries or wineries can coexist together in the same buildings. And it was partly due to COVID, to where if we ever have a situation again where we need more space to distance people, those designated areas are already in place and don't have to be put in place in a hurry to keep the businesses open. So the first step is, so that the state has already basically just issued approval of this statute, but each town has to decide if they want common consumptions in entertainment districts. And they have to work, we have a liquor lawyer that you can work with, your lawyer can work with to get it lined out. At that point, applications are open, and those applications are approved individually.
Okay.
And maybe just to explain it a little bit further, as the owner of 2 breweries in town and Brad being an owner of a winery, it would allow the 2 of us to collaborate. He would have a cash register and a till, one of possibly our facilities. We would have our own cash register and till, so they would technically be separate bars, but the area where the people are drinking and hanging out would be the common consumption area. So wine and beer could be consumed all in one area. Now, his business would still be his business, my business would still be my business, but the customers could all hang out together. So if Thomas wanted a beer and Mary wanted a glass of wine, they could have that and you could sit at the same table together and enjoy them in one space. If that makes the conversation just a little bit more simple, how we're explaining it.
And it also allows more flexibility for, established breweries or wineries or distilleries to draw their own permits to have events. Whereas right now, most of these event permits need to be drawn by a nonprofit. So these common consumption areas and entertainment districts are subject to the regulations that the town wants to put them under. So they can be permanent, like the situation we're talking right now, where we're sharing this indoor space, potentially with some outdoor common consumption, but they can also be whole districts that are, or whole sections of town that are shut down, maybe temporarily for an event. And then those places are open to the same common consumption. And if you want to read a more detailed proposal, we can send you one that the town of Pueblo. A number of towns in the state have done this, and they've done a lot of it in Denver, especially where you have a high concentration of establishments that want to throw events together. So we could send you that Pueblo proposal if you want to look that over, just to get an idea of how a town structures this and what it sort of looks like in more detail.
It's helpful. I think it'd be helpful for me for sure to understand it better.
Let's have a question. So how big is this district?
It's once the town says that it wants to approve the statute, each one of those districts are common consumption areas. is subject to an application. So once you go through the process of disapproving the statute with the state, then people like us can come to you with a proposed entertainment district, and then that has to be approved by the town. So this is just the first step in a much longer process of even getting to the point to approving one of these districts.
Would this lead to open containers on the street of Day?
It depends. If you approve that, yes. If you don't approve that, no.
Yeah, so we're not technically asking for that.
Yeah.
What it would really be is right now, we're asking the town to say that this is something that we would consider, and we move forward with the entertainment district as a whole, the town is into it. And then we move forward with later, Brad and I could come together and say, hey, there's this location. This is the outline, this is the security, this is where it would be. And we would like to serve beer and wine, and it could be a physical spot that stays there always, it's not moving. So it could be the brewery's location, for example, and then both products could be sold on that property.
And actually, one of the stipulations of this common consumption area is security. So if you do have an outdoor space or something where people are consuming alcohol and it is sort of an open container situation, there has to be clear definition of that area, and there has to be someone monitoring the outgoing and the ingoing of people, so that people are not leaving that area with alcoholic beverages as well. So that is one of the only really key components to how this is managed, is if you do have an outdoor area, there has to be some type of control of it. So it can't just be a free for all.
Paige?
I read the definition for an entertainment district, so, and some of this I defer to Nick as well, but one of the things that jumped out at me was, according to the statutory definition, you have to have a minimum of 20,000 square feet of premises.
Yes, I've talked to our lawyer about that. It's not required, and they've approved other districts within the state where that doesn't apply.
Okay, and I would definitely defer to our attorney on the interpretation of that definition, but that just jumped out at me. And then the other thing to make note that you all know, and you might take a look at it, is we do have open container laws in our code currently.
Right, yeah, and we're honestly not asking about festival or anything on the streets, honestly.
We're showing you the scope of the statute.
You just, if you come with a presentation, I want you to be aware of what's already on our books to see.
Absolutely.
And what I'm saying is that it may not be adequate. What's on our books now may not be quite adequate to cover what you all might propose. So mostly it was just informational, so you have the whole picture
Right.
when you come to us. But again, I think our attorney will be very helpful for us.
As well.
Yeah, it's a relatively new statute, and it's only come, I think, right at the tail end of COVID. So, but a lot of towns are pushing it through, and the 20,000 square foot that mostly came from Denver, where that is part of the statute, but it doesn't necessarily apply to other towns. As far as I know, as far as the information from our report.
Yeah, Paige.
So, I was wondering whether entertainment district might be overkill, like what you want to do is be able to serve beer and wine both from two different places, which state law doesn't allow right now within a single establishment. Is that correct? So what if you convert it to a standard bar license? Would you be able to do it that way?
But then
We can't hold those licenses along with the licenses we hold. So this
If
is,
you convert,
we could,
we can't. No.
see, he's a winemaker and I'm a beer maker, so we're allowed to have tasting rooms. So if we wanted to get a bar license, we would have to close our establishments as persons to get that license.
and reapply.
Yeah, but then we couldn't.
We
make
can't
beer,
make
we
beer
can't-
So this is the only way we can, this is the only way the winery, distiller, or brewery can cohabitate one space. It's through the statute. The wording is not great, it doesn't really describe what we're trying to do with it.
Up until now. Up until this year, there's been no place for a brewery and a winery to cohabitate on the same project. Okay, like you would have to have a wall, and the customers could not have a beer and a wine in the same area. They couldn't cross over. So now what this is really allowing us to do is to say that inside, say, let's just take my tasting room, for example, it's already established. It would allow us to create the property of the Peonia United Brewing Company, for example, and make that an entertainment district, right? And then he could have a counter where he sells his wine. I have my bar where I sell my beer, and in the middle, everybody can hang out and drink them together. So it's two separate businesses, but the customers in the center are the ones that are really gonna gain from this. You know, it's also allowing, you know, someone like Brant to bring his business into town and set up shop where the town can also get the tax revenue from that as well, from additional sales.
Because somehow we managed to do that on special events at the park. We have beer and wine.
It's a special event permit, yes, which is completely different. Now, a nonprofit can pull a special event permit that allows spirits, wine and beer all to be served at the park, you know, and that's super easy. If as a business alone, we wanted to do an event at the park, for example, and we wanted to draw a special event permit, it's about $375 per event, you know, so business, you know, to pull that permit, just to have an event once in a while. But this isn't, we're not asking for an event, we're asking for this to be like a permanent thing where people can cohabitate and drink beer and drink wine on one property.
Dave, please.
Thanks, Mary. This is a private endeavor, and the question I have is who pays the legal fees for this? Because we're going to be paying the town attorney. And so is there expectation that taxpayers of Paonia pay for the legal fees to make this move forward? I think it's a valid question at this point.
I agree, and I thought the same thing. So, I mean, ultimately, the citizens of Paonia are gonna be the ones that are also partially benefiting from this, that they can all come to one establishment as a community and hang out. So, I mean, we could ask the community if they were into paying for that.
Yeah, I mean, partly what this does is what you have right now, I mean, I'm sure as everyone knows, is like, you know, exponentially rising rents across the state. So it's giving, you know, smaller businesses more flexibility to come in and also share those rents, which is really beneficial. And, you know, a lot of towns like Paonia, smaller towns also have limited space, building space to, you know, say have a tasting room or have a brewery space or a distillery space. So you're just accommodating more of that and ultimately bringing in more people with tax revenue in the long run.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a couple questions for this. First, are there any examples around that we could visit to see like how this works somewhere else?
Not here, but I'm sure we could find an examples in Denver. And then I'm not sure if Pueblo actually passed the proposal that their town put through, but I could find out if that went through. And yeah, you could potentially go to Pueblo. I'm pretty sure Fort Collins has done the same thing. Again, a lot of towns implemented this post-COVID to keep the flexibility of these spaces open, you know, because they like it. Partially, and then also just in case there ever is a social distancing issue, they have that flexibility to move into those spaces.
Yeah, there's a distillery and a brewery in Denver. And I can give you the names of them. I forget what they are, but they have two separate locations in their patio is what combines them. So there are two buildings with a patio in the center. They created that as the entertainment district. And then the customers can go to the window on this side and the window on that side, and then they all hang out.
Yes, some of these districts are alley spaces that include not only liquor license establishments, but also retail businesses. So, you know, and again, they're not all permanent like what we're talking about in our heads of the, you know, what we want to move forward with. Some of them are subject to be permitted by the town. So they're only opened up on certain events or times. And then people can say, yeah, grab a beer and go walk into the shop next door and shop for clothing and walk out of it and then walk into another liquor license establishment that are all close together. So it also involves retail business as well in some situations.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'm thinking of a scenario where say, I mean, I guess the places I've been where you can buy whatever you want to drink, have a different liquor license classification. Does brewing on site exclude you from having that?
Yes.
Okay, so you couldn't do what you were talking about before, like say we had a brewery and Brent, are you going to be doing like fermentation on site or planning on doing fermentation?
No,
on site?
it would just be
Okay, so you could do that, like separate the brewery from the bar and then have like, now it's a bar and when you serve bar beers and brands wines. Sorry about you, like, is that not?
Yeah, no, the liquor code, I mean, I could go deep into the liquor code. It's very complicated and there's multiple licenses for breweries, wineries and distilleries. And they all have what is seemingly a lot of arbitrary rules that you have to follow. So none of them really match up. This is the only way you can do this particular sort of thing. This is the regulation that you do this. There's no other way to
Yeah, so-
accomplish it ultimately.
I mean, ultimately, if you make wine, you're a winemaker. You make beer, you're a beer maker. If you make spirits, hard alcohol, that's what you do. And I can't make wine in my establishment. He can't make beer in his establishment. So that's how the laws are stated. With our licenses, we're allowed almost upwards, I think it's five tasting rooms. So we could have a tasting room here, I could have them in Carbondale, I could have them anywhere I want. But again, I can only serve beer in those locations. And that's what the state says. But with this new statute, it's allowing this to happen where as long as he's bringing up his own stuff on his register and I'm bringing up my own stuff on my register, two separate businesses, we can share a space is really what it is.
So right now, I can't share a space. A winery can share a space with another winery, and a brewery can share a space with another brewery, and a distillery, but we can't coexist in the same building. That makes sense.
Not really. So, but I guess like.
That's what makes sense, but it is.
So my thing is like, okay, I mean, like clearly we've all been in places where you can get whatever you want.
And so then it's another license. So there's a restaurant liquor license, there's a pub restaurant or a bar restaurant license like Waldo's has, so they have all these different licenses that allow you to do different things.
So it seems like that would be the easier solution, like
When we
creating ordinance, so.
But because we're manufacturers of the product, we can't get the other licenses because we're manufacturers of the product. So as the manufacturer of the product, I can sell them all those, but I couldn't own all those.
So there's a 3-tier system in the liquor code was established a long time ago. And there are retail establishments, there are manufacturers, and there are distributors. You cannot be an owner of two of those entities. You can be a manufacturer or a distributor or a retailer. So the normal liquor license falls under retail sales, whereas we fall under manufacturing. And we happen to have tasting rooms because the state has allowed that to where we can sell our products in the state. Yeah.
There's what.
So we go with it every day. But so, I mean, ultimately, this whole statute is like the first, ray of sunshine into allowing, two entities to dwell in the same space is really what it's saying, without causing problems. It's like, it really is just saying, this, let's just say this group is allowed. And, it's just saying this space can be cohabitated by two people who both own tasting rooms. And ultimately, what we're just kind of trying to present to you right now today is that we would like to move forward with making this something that is on the statutes and in the books for Paonia. And then at that point, once it's in there, we can come back and say, hey, we've got this location. And we would like to do it in this location after we've already established the rules and what the town wants it to look like. And the state has really said, it's up to the town to make the rules.
And our liquor lawyer is very familiar with this process. He's done it for other towns and for other establishments within the city of Denver. And I don't suspect it's going to take much time actually to just get the statute approved within the town. What's going to take more time is the town board, approving each one of those proposals. So I don't expect you're going to incur much, legal cost here.
Do you have something?
I was just gonna ask if you could send our clerk the name of the restaurant in Denver that's doing
Yes.
it.
Absolutely.
So we can at least look online. If I'm in Denver, I'll go check it out.
Yes.
We'll send you more examples too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you could send us the law from Pueblo, so we could have a look at it, that would be
Yes,
great.
yeah, the one from Pueblo is the most detailed sort of multi-page proposal I've been able to find online that just happened to be published.
Okay, well, that would be helpful too. Well, let's take some citizen comment if there is any.
Just one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
So this is an initial proposal, and obviously it's gonna take some time to flesh it out. One thing that I need to physically see what's going on, so I need maps. Of what you're gonna propose.
We're not at that point yet. We just need the town to say either no, we do not want this at all, or yes, we want this. And then once you say that, we'll give you a proposal that has a map, boundaries, guidelines, et cetera.
It's kind of a chicken and egg thing here. I need the information to actually, for my 1/6 point of it, say yes, but I'd be fine to look at more information.
Well, I mean, ultimately, like, if you create the statute in the town, then we have to come to and bring you a proposal with that information that you're seeking. Then you can approve or not approve. So you could never approve any of this.
Yeah.
You know, so we could come to you guys with proposal 10 times and you'd be like, no, it doesn't fit our values or whatever. But what we're asking for today is that we can move forward with planning that part and then just, because it is a state, you know, it's been moved to the state. So they say that it's just up to the town to create the rules around it.
Yeah, and at this point, we're not, it's not beneficial for us to go through all of the work required to make this plan and then it not even be a statute that can even exist in the town. So we sort of need the statute to be in place so we can come figure out where we want to do it and what it looks like so we can deliver it.
Yeah, so we need to make the law and then you guys come to us after we make the law. All right, there were a few hands up. So Michelle?
Good questions or you ask?
I don't have a question, I just have a.
Okay.
I just wanted to speak to Dave's concern, trustee Newsom's concern about the legal cost. I pulled up the state statutes and it does specify that you can establish a fee and an amount designed to offset the cost of implementing that section approach. So whatever your legal costs are, you could in theory recover that in the fee that you set or anybody seeking.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah.
I just have a quick question, and I'm not sure, got a little confused, maybe Thomas asked that already, but so can you set up then another distillery like for whiskey or add that to the beer, the wine, the beer, and then?
Well, legally, we couldn't, but if there was a person in town that owned a distillery, and brought a distillery to Paonia, and we wanted to have 3 people coexist in one space, yeah, yes.
Okay, so it could just add on.
Yeah, but again, that would also, again, be up to the town to make that decision. So we make the initial rules, say, hey, there could be up to 3 of these people in one space, there could be 6, or whatever we decide.
Now, as far as I know, we cannot manufacture in that same space. As far as I know, there can only be one manufacturer. What we were sharing is a taste.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, Suzanne.
Suzanne Watson. I just have a question. When I hear the word district, I always think of zoning. And I know it's probably different than an arts district because you're actually, consuming and selling alcohol. So is this something that needs to be addressed through a zoning component, or is a district possible to have in a district like C1 and C2 that already allows the sale and consumption of? Just a question, and I don't know if our parks zoning allows the consumption of alcohol. I maybe am overthinking that, but if you could consider that, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah.
I have a question and a comment following that answer. Do I never go to you?
Well,
Why aren't you selling your product to the 14 liquor license only? Already have?
Because you take a huge cut as a producer, when you don't sell directly to the consumer. You have to grow your business much larger.
Okay, so maybe the business from them. For your clients.
All right. All right. All right, thank you. All right. All right, thank you.
I'm ready.
All right, it's done. Thank you. All right, let's move on to announcement of town manager finalists and discussion of interview process. So at this point, all of our finalists have left the field. But Oh, I'm sorry, Dave? Dave,
We did not answer their question. They essentially wanted to know whether we want to move forward with this, and we haven't made a motion or done anything in regard to their request.
well, it seems like we need more information, and we'll put it back on the agenda again.
Okay, thank you.
Does somebody want to make a motion? I don't think anybody does, so I think at this point, we're just going to get the information and we'll put it back on another agenda.
Okay, thank.
Do you want to make a motion, Dave?
The only motion I would make would be concerning that we track legal fees as we go through this process. And that I am interested in researching it further. So having it on a future agenda item, I would move that we would, actually, I'm thinking out loud, so I'm sorry. I'd make a motion that we approve exploration of this while we track legal fees associated with it.
All right, that's kind of fuzzy and doesn't really take us anywhere. How about set a date for us to put it back on another agenda? How about that? We can gather information or whatever.
Okay.
In a month? In 6 weeks?
Yeah, move on.
I didn't hear that one.
So move on.
Just move on? Okay. All right, announcement of town manager plans. All right, so as I said, all our finalists have retired from the field. We did have one person who remains interested in the job if we would like to consider re-interviewing them. So it's the gentleman from Nebraska. So the question is to the board, do we want to advance that person to a finalist and re-interview?
I don't want to get stuck in the last man standing thing. That's with 10, 9 years, realize that. And it's not a good idea to repeat your mistakes. I thought about this one a lot, as some really nice people drifted away from us. We did not consider this person to begin with as being suitable, and I don't think we should all of a sudden make him suitable. The other thing is that I thought about is the town of Hotchkiss, for the 32 years I've been here, has not had an administrator, yet has functioned quite efficiently. In fact, I'd say they probably function better than us. I hate to say that, being a loyal Paonian, but they have delegated more authority to each of the departments, and without an administrator have run an efficient town. So it is possible for us to do this. Also, the history of us having administrators is not borne out very well. After John Norris, we had a succession of bad administrators that caused us more grief than it's worth. And then further, Leslie says that administrators only last a couple of years, 2-3 years. I don't know if it's worth it to put all of the adjustment and training into an administrator, than to have to turn them over in that short period of time. So my feeling is that we should just take the Hotchkiss model, which is functional, and use it.
Yes.
I respectfully disagree. I think it's really important to have an administrator, given complications of our town and expectations of the public. I don't think we would do well without one. What I would like to suggest is we discuss maybe increasing the salary we have posted. Talk about where to post, to continue posting the job opening. And I'd like to suggest that in addition to I think the platforms that Leslie used for advertising were all free. And when we
No, ICMA, you paid for ICMA and which one was it? I think APA Colorado.
okay, and we did not go beyond ICMA Colorado when we did our first round. We did not do the national, so we didn't pay at that time. But what I'm suggesting is that we continue with the platforms that Leslie has used and go back to going to some of the state municipal leagues like we did the first round and add our ad there as well. I can probably tell you which ones are more beneficial and cheapest from having done it already. And then perhaps ask this person who has continued to express interest to reapply again in this next go round. And in fairness to that person, We don't want to, and I want to just say that I think we as trustees need to remember, not only are we interviewing them, but they are watching us. Do they want to work for us? So I have one admonition that I'd like to put out, and that is when we are in public and talking about our finalists, do not, I think to rate them is not a good idea. Let's just keep it level. We've chosen finalists and leave it at that. And then we go more into our thoughts about them individually during the finalist process. But I think it gives us a little bit of a black eye. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, David.
Couple comments. First of all, does anyone, I'm not party to the reasons why the people have chosen not to come here or taken their hat out of the ring. And I think it'd be good information, at least for me, to know that. Secondly, I think what Dave is saying is fairly intriguing to me because I've heard from a number of citizens how expensive they feel that it would be to have a town administrator. And if there's other ways to direct that money with increased staff, increased oversight on the financial end, that may be advantageous to us. So I think as a board, it's worthwhile for us to really start exploring some options. Dave has really given me some food for thought.
Yeah, I think it may be possible someday for this town to function well without an administrator. I think that Leslie's done a great job demonstrating how valuable one can be. So until such time as we are in a spot where we all feel comfortable saying, no, let's delegate all this out. I'm for tying up as many loose ends as we can realistically, like the next 5 years, say. So I'm for an administrator in general, but I appreciate Dave Newton's comment about getting more information about why these guys dropped out. I sat down with Leslie this afternoon and I kind of had a quick chat about it. And I don't know the appropriate way to do it. It might be through the personnel committee, but if we can go back to those applicants who we had as finalists and, just informally say, hey, like why, trying to get back to them and whatever.
2 of the 4 gave reasons. The other 2
I didn't see any of that.
Well, I did send them to Leslie.
Okay, yeah, if we can get as much information as possible on why our qualified candidates who interviewed with us, but presumably did want the job at some point, what changed their mind. I think that if we can find some kind of actionable change that we can make as a board or as a town, in the application process, that might help us in the future because I don't doubt that there's someone out there who is right for us, who wants this job, who will do an excellent job for us. But it's just a matter of making sure that they know how awesome we are. You know how awesome they are. It's like I feel like there's some kind of disconnect happening. That there's really like I feel like if everybody could experience what I've experienced in the community, they would want to pay to be here rather than us paying them, it's awesome. And
You're right, Thomas. It's a two-way interview process. They're interviewing us and it'd be nice to have some raise.
Yeah. It's like, as Belsey said, it's a wooing process. We're trying to woo them to us. We're not trying to interrogate them or shut them down or community in any way. We're trying to convince them that we are the best community and that they will love to come here and be with us. And so in the interviewing process, we can figure out a way to do that and convince them that, yeah, we may not be paying this guy, but oh my God, they're going to love every minute of being here. Really be helpful as well. And I completely agree that we need a town administrator. If you have a board of 7 people who basically don't have administrator experience, who don't know how town government works deeply, and walk into these positions and expect them to pick up and run a town government, you're asking for a huge failure. Now, this is half the size of Peonia and probably a quarter as complicated as Peonia. And yeah, they can operate with a very well-versed clerk and a mayor. We cannot. We are way too complicated to do that. If you expected me to step into the role of mayor and act in Leslie's stead, we would have failed. We would have failed, and we would not have done one part of the stuff that we have done in this
The
tree.
board and the mayor wouldn't be doing that, would actually be more authority at the department level. And the clerk.
You need somebody to pull it together and to coordinate that, and that's what the county administrator does, aside from all the other things that fall between the cracks that the board and then the heads don't do. I mean, you're gonna have a head of zoning. But anyhow, I think we should, I agree with Paige. I think we should expand where we're putting out our ads. And, yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah, I know that we continue our administrative search.
All right, we have a second.
I second.
Any other discussion? Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah.
Leslie, when is your contract expire?
Nick, did you look that up? So we're discussing that today.
I'll look that up now, and I just wanted to let everyone know that John tuned in. So, John,
Oh, he's muted.
He's just smiling.
Yeah, I guess you're right now.
Okay, all right, so, yeah,
Well, I just wondered if, well, I'd like to make a potential second motion.
all
after
right,
this
so
one,
we're
sorry.
working in a second to continue with the administrator search. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay, nay. Did you
John,
record? I want my vote recorded as a nay.
all right, yes, John Valentine, do you have a vote? You're muted.
Abstain, I'm getting up to speed.
All right, well, we have 2 ayes, 2 nays, and I vote aye, so we're continuing.
Okay, yeah, you didn't allow any period for comment. I just wanted to make one thing, and that was that Einstein once said that doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is insanity.
I agree. All right.
I know, we're not saying that's.
Yeah.
That's part of the job qualifications.
Okay, so, what did you want to do, Paige?
I'd like to make a motion that we increase the upper end of the salary to 135,000. I look at Leslie, because Leslie has been saying that our upper range is really low for Colorado administrators. And Leslie, do you still feel that way?
Well, it's not really low, it's low for a town of this size. And I was explaining to Thomas today, the salaries for city managers have gone up quite a bit because a lot of people are dropping out of the profession because they don't want to deal with difficult politics. So I do think it might help. I don't know for sure. I would always keep the lower end just in case you get somebody who, you know, and I think we did have a good candidate who this would have been a first job for them. But if you get the right person, probably worth it. Because the right person will save you money.
And the 135,000 I threw out, which is really, I'm throwing it out just as a number. Does that seem a reasonable amount, given what you might be seeing or know you're
Well, I told Thomas today that I would consult with Kevin Balmer and ask him what he thought the range should be for a town of this size, just so you have an expert opinion from somebody who has the big picture view and knows intimately the struggles that all towns have gone through. It is difficult to bring in city and town managers and town administrators. If you watch the CML job board, I think it took Lowland Springs a year to find somebody and multiple rounds. And so, and they were offering over 200,000.
What town was that?
Lowland Springs.
Oh.
Yeah, after Deborah Figueroa left. So it is difficult because there are less people in that profession, but I think getting Kevin's counsel, I did email him. And would be what would be important before I could give you advice.
So if we went ahead and just put it out as it is. Let's start getting applications. And then if we can, in 2 weeks, we could raise.
Have a second?
I was gonna ask this.
We don't have a second to this point. We haven't done it.
Did I actually create a motion? Okay, that actually was
Kind of
succinct.
drifted by.
Well, continue on. We can ask for a second.
Yeah, so do you want me to repeat it?
Sure.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we increase the upper end of the salary level for the town administrator position to a to be determined amount.
Right, we have a second.
Second, that it's obscure, but I like it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
John?
I,
That motion passes. All right, let's move on to approval to intent to ask Senators Bennett and Hickenlooper for congressionally directed funds to buy the decommissioned school board. All right, you've already discussed this. It's out on the table. It's already been submitted, but I guess I can always, if the vote is nay, I can always email them and say, please take it away. So do you need it presented to you again? Is that a yes, Thomas?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like,
Oh, you would like to present it?
no, I would like it presented.
Oh, okay.
I was not here in person the first time.
Oh, okay. So. Congressionally oh, good. I can't even say the word. Congressionally directed funds are a portion of the entire US budget. It is 0.5%. So it's half of 1% of the US budget gets meted out to all the senators and congressmen to split amongst themselves on pet projects. So what the senators in Colorado have done is they reach out to all their constituents and say, if you want some of this money, fill out this form. And then they go through the forms and decide who they will put into their appropriations bill. And you have to, there are different appropriations committees that they go to. So you have various committees that you can pick. When I originally put this forward, I was thinking water and sewer. I knew where that went in the whole process. Leslie suggested that we buy the old school building because having property is always a benefit to the town. You can always do something with it later. I thought that was a great idea as well. Unfortunately, we didn't get it noticed properly. And so it was approved by the board, but again, it wasn't noticed properly. So it was submitted. What I submitted it as was, since you have to do a purpose for it, it was submitted to the Department of Agriculture, which has a grant program under that, which allows for essential buildings its grant program to buy public essential buildings. And this would fall under that. Under that grant program, you have to match 25%. There are other qualifications, but because it's coming from congressional directed spending, all you have to match are the population requirements for that grant. You do not have to match the economic requirements. We match the population requirements. We do not match the economic requirements of that. We have too much money in the town to match the economic requirements of it. So I proposed in the thing to get for $3 million, of which I made a miscalculation and I calculated closing costs at 2%, no, 20% instead of 2%. So I wrote the grant for more money than we needed. So I wrote it for $3 million instead of $2.5 million. So anyhow, it is in for $3 million. It is open for discussion now. If we want to continue with that, like I say, I can always email the senators whether they will take it out of the process or not. I don't know. But I also said that that we would use it for affordable housing, that we would take the part of the building, turn it into affordable housing units, and then take the other part of the building and turn it into a community center. So that is what was put into the grant. All right, questions, comments?
David had his hand up.
David.
Number of things have come to me since this vote. First of all, so that Suzanne Watson doesn't have to put out a core request to me. I was contacted by the mayor the Thursday before the meeting with this very question. At the time, it sounded like a good idea to me, and then it came up in the next meeting. As I've been looking at it more, I have a couple concerns. One is that the entire delivery system underground of that building is encased in asbestos. So there's a huge asbestos removal issue with that building if we take it over and try to do anything with it. One of my relatives develops property for a living. He's saying $70,000 to $80,000 per unit to try to make it livable or habitable, and that doesn't include asbestos removal. The biggest concern I have is the capacity of staff to handle a piece of property that just, what are we going to do with this? And water and sewer is really our number one thing right now. And I'm really having second thoughts about this being a good way forward for the town. Thank you.
And I will disclose too, yes, I consulted with the attorney about the possibility of pulling the board members. And the attorney said, as long as all I was doing was just doing a quick poll and not making any decisions, that it was okay under the sunshine laws. So yes, I did poll board members. All right. Yeah,
Dave. So last time around, I voted yes for, let me explain my logic, although I think I've changed my mind. And that was that the school district is building rich and cash poor. And this looked to me like an opportunity to go ahead and purchase that building. That gives school district money. We would have that building, but I didn't want us to actually develop it because it's something we can't handle. We just do not have the staff to be handling rental units and affordable housing and all the rest of that. I thought to sell it to a developer and then we get the money out. But my fear is that we're going to get stuck with that thing. It's going to become a giant black hole for money. And we've got other higher priority things, whether it's water, sewer, or the streets. And I don't want to get stuck in a building.
Any other comment? Leslie?
Since I have in-depth experience in land development and particularly private-public partnerships, the way you're thinking is not how these usually work. So the reason why I advocated for buying land is I've looked at the vacant land prices around here, and they're very high. You want to do affordable housing, and by acquiring some property that could be used by affordable housing, you're upping the chances that you can meet your affordable housing needs. So what usually happens on this is, say you buy the property, then you find a developer that you can work with, and you enter into a public-private partnership, and that might include that part of the property is retained in public ownership for community center and affordable housing. You either sell the land to the developer, the remaining land to the developer at a reduced cost, and allow him to make profits off the market rate housing. So it pays for the affordable housing in the community center. And there are people that EPS is a firm that I've worked with to set up these projects. When I first met them, I was involved in negotiating a very similar project between Camp Pendleton, the city of Oceanside, and the Oceanside Housing Authority to provide affordable housing for the lowest level of recruits, which I can't remember. It's like 85 or something like that. But anyway, it's probably different now. It was a long time ago, but that's how these projects work. It's not that then the town suddenly develops the property. You've got that asset to be able to leverage getting what you need at a low cost to the public.
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of feel like We don't have an estimate of the maintenance cost on this building. We don't know what its true market value is, what it might cost to develop or any other complications as trustee Knudsen noticed or noted. Asbestos is just one, but I'm looking at the Ellen Hansen Smith Center, Teen Center, and I see that as a community building that is owned by us, essentially operated, I guess, not sure if it's a distinct entity, but basically nobody in town really has much to do with the day-to-day operations of that building. And it is perennially underutilized. I know that the Red Feather Bowman make use of it. I've been to a couple of events in it myself, and I know that there are periodic events there, but it's not. When I think of a community center, I think of something as like the YMCA, where there's constant basketball games and classes and meetings and groups and all kinds of things happening. And I'm not seeing that with what we have now. So I really don't feel like we will be able to put that size of a building to use in the same structure as that. Regarding the housing side of it, I've been in the VOTEC building a couple times, and I haven't been through every single room of it, but that is a job and a half to convert classrooms into living quarters. Just the plumbing alone has got to be a nightmare. So I don't see how this is really a strong win for the town. If we want to make use of land, we have the Twin Lakes Old Sewer property right there. Our housing survey comes back and says, yeah, you guys need 20 low-income units, and you can build them for this much money. It's gonna work. Then let's talk about buying something or using what we have. I feel like this is just premature, and I don't see the wisdom in buying this particular piece of property at this particular time. Or having somebody that's buy it for us, I guess, is really what we're talking about.
Okay, so I'll weigh in that I felt like at the last meeting, it was a little bit under duress, and it was, to me, I felt like it was being sold more as this is property we could turn around and sell for the town. And I don't see us being able to even do that public-private partnership at our current capacity of trying to deal with infrastructure. Because the money would come within the next year or so, but for 2 years.
Late 2024 and the earliest, and that depends if Congress actually passes the budget.
Right. And if they approve this as part of it, I just feel like it's more than we town with our staff can handle on top of everything else. When those grants start coming in 24, we are going to be overwhelmed, I think. And I also feel like the public, it has created a huge level of distrust with the public. And I'm just not sure it's worth it at this point. And I think it's also, I think we need to see our housing assessment completion to understand what we have here already. So at this point, I am not for it.
Motion.
Well,
not very well worded.
You know what? We still haven't gotten public comment. I was supposed to get public comment before the board discussed it, but let's open it up to public comment. Anybody want to comment? Yeah, Michelle.
It's on Second Street. Had a whole lot to share with you, but it sounds like the board is pretty unanimously not in favor of this. So I'm just going to keep it short and say also not in favor of this. You've seen quite a few of my reasons for that already. I'm concerned that a vote moving forward in violation of open meetings law. As a board, it's your responsibility to keep that from happening. Follow the rules. I think it would have, hindsight, but it would have been appropriate for you to stop the vote and refuse to vote on something that wasn't brought before the property. As I've heard in this room before, somebody else's lack of planning and I'm getting it all wrong, but somebody else's lack of planning shouldn't make it urgent on your part. Yeah, there's a good quote and that's wrong, but close enough. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say for now. I really hope you vote this down, and I hope that you will pause the next time something's brought before you without information, without proper procedure, and just pause and think it through before you make a vote. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, who's there?
Suzanne Watson. So I'm glad you've noticed this. The reason I wasn't at the meeting where it was spontaneously discussed was because I didn't see it on the agenda. I don't believe that, I don't understand how the attorney could tell you it's okay to poll board members about an item that, I mean, it was like the item that you switched the agenda to. To me, there were 2 illegal meetings and there was ample time. 24 hours. The only place you have to officially post a meeting notice is 24 hours ahead of time on the bulletin board at the door to town hall. You could have added it to that agenda. And maybe then your private conversations would have been legal, but I think you're using your phone too much for that. That being said, the thing that disappoints me a little bit is there are very many categories that this funding could have been used for. And none of the opportunities were brought to the board for a discussion to prioritize, to decide what we needed most. So the whole board could decide what best we could apply this funding to. 3rd Street has had engineered plans by SGM for complete rebuilding, repaving for the last 14 years. 14 years ago, we did that and we haven't been able to afford it. I'd like to see a prioritization of what we actually need to be spending money on this town before we apply to these huge opportunities. I mean, if we're just throwing spaghetti on the wall, that's not fair. It's not fair to the citizens and it's not fair to other people who apply to these grants and it's not fair to the people who review them. And I think it cuts down our chance if we do get this, we're not going to get that opportunity again for years and years. Denver last year, I think it was 2022, they applied for infrastructure repairs on streets. So there are very many categories and I don't think there was a full and honest discussion about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Christine.
Yeah, I thought we were sort of in a different place, everybody. I thought we had moved forward and we were all in it together and there was going to be more transparency and more unification with people. I think something like this, as Suzanne said, this is $1 trillion, this grant that's being disseminated throughout the country. And I think that there could have been better uses for it in this town. And I think it would have called for like a special session for the citizens and the board and everybody put it on the table and get ideas and work it together. But it really feels like in having perspective now, it feels like it was just a couple people knew and then it was hidden. And then it was sort of on the table and it moved very fast. So I personally would really appreciate if something this big happens, that everybody knows about it and everybody can talk about it and figure it out together. This happened with the COVID reimbursable grant and everybody's aware of what happened there. And it felt very hidden and the way it was doled out was very questionable. So we're going to get more grants and we have to change the way we're doing them. It has to be very transparent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hang all right, then let's move on. Wait, we need a motion.
Want me to make it?
You make it.
Okay, I'll take the loads on. I make a motion that we do not proceed with the congressionally directed funds to buy the decommissioned school building.
Okay, we have a second.
Second.
Further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion passes. All right,
Sorry, nay.
okay. I will email the offices of both the senators tomorrow. All right, next, approval of ordinance 2303, amending section 11-1-80 of the Paonia Municipal Code regarding street closures. All right, so we're back here. One
Like the zombie that never died.
It's like a zombie that never dies. Yes, I think we should take public comment right off the top because I'm sure there's people who want to comment. So we made changes on the last version of this to basically. All right, so the changes now say that no organization may close the city blocks in the C1 zone more than twice a year. That, or C1 or C2. More than twice a year. No organization may close a city block in C1 zone more than twice a year. No city block in the C1 or C2 zones may be closed more than 5 times in a year. And that the board can regard an exception to the 10-hour street closure restriction, which means the board can make an exception to that. So that the town attorney has revised subsection M of the draft ordinance to make that exception, and that have changed the ordinance to make those other exceptions. So, comments from the public? Yes.
Mitch Morgan, 40018 Elm Road, Paonia. So Mayor and Council, thank you for your work on the proposed ordinance. It appears that you struck the delicate balance between its desire to close the streets, the needs for the businesses to keep them open. So great. I like the proposed ordinance. And one caveat would be, we have a beautiful town park with great facilities and amenities. I'd say let's party in the park. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, seeing none, we have a motion to approve the ordinance.
Do we?
Yeah, I move that we approve the ordinance as written.
You have a
A
second?
second?
Any further discussion?
The only, I like all of it except for the board coming in and actually being able to override the ordinance. The last time we did that, we ended up listening to 1.5 hours of shame from the creatives. I don't want some future board to have to be tortured that way. So that's my only opposition. Otherwise, it was typical people working together to reach a common solution.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving ordinance 2023-03?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, people, we have. Hallelujah, congratulations. Next on the agenda is Riverbed Conservation Easement Trail Development and Acquisition, further discussion. So Mr. Heiniger and I met with the trail Riverbed Conservation Easement people. They were here a couple weeks ago to talk about their proposition to make a conservation easement at the bottom of the riverbank property and put a trail through there with the help of Nature Connection and Western Slope Conservation Center. And they just wanted to know if the public, the public and the board, after hearing the presentation and thinking about it, had any further concerns about it. The map is in our packets. If you need any more explanation on the map, I'd be happy to supply it. Yes, Pete.
I just have a question after looking at the map. I did not go to the county clerk's location where you can see property ownership. But the proposed bridge to the library.
Yeah.
When it crosses on the south side of the river, is it crossing someone else's private property?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, so the town owns up to the river on the south side, and then on the north side, Is it strictly the person that owns the property for the,
Yeah, it would be the
Subdivision.
easement. It would be the easement.
and folks, so we only have one property owner to deal with? That's all I want to make sure.
Right, and it would be that section that the conservation, that the riverbank conservation easement would, that would be their section of property they would eventually buy and turn into the trail.
And is that, if I might, just looking at the map, is the white trail, the white piece of trail is would have to be, the easement would have to cover that white piece of the trail and then where it meets the river?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
This very idea has been something we've considered for a very long time. So it's good to actually see that it might happen. This was part of the whole riverbank subdivision, was the bridge and also the trail concept.
Yeah, the fact that Evo is willing to sell them that property and turn it into a conservation easement, I think is a huge win. And then the idea is that eventually the town would own that, being it's part of the town anyway, but the town would take over ownership of that. And that was part of the reason Corey was included in that, to see if he had any concerns about maintenance. And his thing is, well, what's the trail going to be comprised of, and can't you get big machinery in there to help maintain it? Yeah, those kind of questions.
The first part of that trail already built its crusher flats.
Right, and that's pretty much what they're gonna continue. It's not gonna be concrete or anything like that. And it's not gonna leave without the maintenance because it's all conservation easement, so it's gonna be wild grasses and stuff. There's gonna be no mowing, there's gonna be no weeding, there's nothing like that. It's just the trail maintenance and Nature Connection and WSCC are going to be doing a lot of that.
Yeah, you don't want to do something fancy in there because it has the potential for being washed away.
Exactly.
If you've been to Moab where all of their river trails got washed out, so they've got to start over. So we just do it simple.
Yeah. Yeah, but just make sure that the foundation is there, so it has the least likelihood of. So is there anything else I should take back there? Yes.
So if the conservation easement is passed, and I apologize if the gal brought it up at our last meeting, who is going to pay for the trail to be installed?
That is, no, it's going to, they're going to work with the Nature Connection and WSCC as far as, and it will be part of their, also their whole mission is to create that trail.
So the town of Paonia is not going to be expected to have any matching funds or anything?
And to the best of my knowledge, no, but I can check that out and make sure that that's true.
Thank you.
Anything else from trustees? Yes, David.
One thing that will be needed down there is there's going to have to be hazard tree removal, and there will be occasional maintenance on the trail. We've been successful through the Nature Connection in getting crews coming through in the summer to be able to do that so far. So that's been that piece has been done pretty well. There might be a need to change properties because I believe there's a non-buildable lot there. And if the town swapped properties down in there, it would allow a buildable lot that isn't buildable right now. And so there might be a little bit we have to deal with that. I think there will also be some need for some in-kind work, which we typically do with these trails with our hauling of materials and some grading and things like that. So there might be requests for that. I just want to make sure that my fellow trustees have some picture that it's not just a free and clear thing and it's zero cost.
Yeah, there will be some, town public works will do some work on that as part of being part of the town, for sure. And yeah, we talked about fire mitigation, tree removal and that kind of stuff as part of that fire mitigation. Anything else? Yeah.
I didn't, Trustee Knudsen, can you elaborate on what you meant about why would we have to flip lots? Why would the town of Paonia have to change out buildable lots in his private property? I didn't quite get that.
It might be out of my pay grade. I just remember that there is a lot down there that is not buildable right now, and that our lot isn't necessarily the best lot to put the bridge on. And that so some swapping of property might be done so that that lot can be buildable and it's a better place for the bridge overall. So I just remember those parts of the discussion. So I just wanted to be fully disclosed to hear some of the things that we've heard in the Parks Committee. Thanks.
So it would kind of boil down to what is allowed to be built where.
Right, and it looks like, and from what I understand from both Riverbank people, is that they would stay with the town property. And yeah, I don't know about the buildable lots and whatever, but they're just gonna stay with the property that Evo Renko owns right now.
And they already platted it.
Yeah, and do, yeah, that property and then town property and the view. Yeah,
That lot on the south side, there was a house in there, but flood, I think it was 86, took it out. So that's how we ended up with that property. So it's not
Okay.
buildable because it's in the flood zone.
well, and so. Good thing it's ours.
It's ours.
Okay, anything else? All right, then let's move on to appointing a negotiation committee for the urban rural continuum contract. So, let's.
Is it Shay Colburn? Has posed a number of questions to me about terms of the contract that I can't really answer without more input. Usually the way that we've done this kind of thing is that you would appoint two people to talk with them about their contract and come back to the board with some recommended terms. So I was just asking, instead of trying to negotiate in public with the full board, if you would want to appoint two board members to negotiate with them regarding the terms of their contract. They've asked a lot of questions about schedule and all kinds of stuff that I don't feel comfortable answering.
Okay, any volunteers.
Sure, I'd volunteer.
Okay. Well, as soon as I'm finished grant writing, I will volunteer as well, and that should lighten up a whole lot after the first one. So, yeah, I'll volunteer with you, Dave.
That works
All
out.
right.
That makes sense too, because we're both on the planning committee,
Yeah, that's.
planning commission.
Okay, I'll let Shay know that you'll be contacting.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
I'm moving to appoint trustee Knutson and Mayor Backern as the negotiation committee for the urban renewal continuing contract.
Thank you, Thomas. Do you have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All right, all in favor?
I,
Opposed? All right, that motion passes. All right, next is executive session.
All right, I move that we go into executive session pursuant to CRS 24-64024B for purposes of conferencing with the town attorney to receive legal advice on specific legal questions regarding the encroachment of fence on town-owned property.
Do you have a second?
second.
Discussion? All right, all in favor?
Can I have another motion? I'd like to take a 5-minute break before we go into executive session.
And I have a reluctant eye and
Okay, do we have, all right. So any nays? All right, that motion passes. All right, also, let's have a motion for a 5-minute break before we go into executive session.
second.
Bye, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. 5-minute break, we go into executive session. So we'll meet back when we go into committee.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Sam, I'm just gonna stay online. I guess you'll put me into a group using Zoom.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I never watched that. I'm not into that kind of stuff.
When they got you, they put buttons on your eyes, they took your eyeballs and took buttons on.
Ugh.
Really
See?
freaked kids out when they saw that.
So how do I go into this executive session?
What, Dave?
I said, how do I go into this executive session?
Oh, Sam will set up a room for you and she will just shuttle you into the room when at 8:15. So
So just
stay
stay
online.
on, stay online then? Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay.
Hi, Sam. I think I just got my question answered.
Okay, that's exactly what I was.
Yeah, I was just, they said stay online. On the
Yeah,
Zoom.
we'll do the other.
Okay, thanks.
Like.
Well, we voted down the school. Yeah.
8:15.
Thank you. That, for a minute, you were saying, I was like, that's mean, Thomas. I've been really nice to you today.
When does
Thank
this?
you.
And can we have a special meeting?
That's not.
Discuss what are the possibilities?
Okay. And then, two garbage bags. They came over.
So she's.
All right.
It makes it easier for them than they don't.
Okay, yeah. All right, cool. Thank you.
Well, I think that was fun. That was probably bruising her head. No, I guess I could have posted it. Never mind. You're welcome. So I just. It's crazy. And he had to learn the script was. Same time, and I still beat the triplets. Oh my God. Was it nice? I know. He retired like 3 years ago, and I thought, I'm gonna call him and see if I still hold the record. Right. Of distinction. Oh my gosh. So.
I can't take any papers out like this.
This is the.
This is.
No, it doesn't matter, but you take it. Okay.
You know, if we must just. This one. So. Things. Exactly. Well, okay, so there's something interesting here. So right, so officially it's so when I go look at our.
It's an unusually short meeting.
This policy is that an elected official can develop their own policies as a procedure, right?
I think.
Yeah, this is my own part.
What's our last meeting? We went to Sam's Sunday.
Yes.
And then the meeting before that was short. Those will be the two short.
It says. Where public records are kept only as miniaturized or digital. Whether on magnetic, the official custodian, which hasn't maybe last, right?
No, John left.
Yeah.
Was he gonna go into the executive? Well, I thought we were gonna put him in there, but I'm wondering if he was just.
And they shall adopt a policy regarding the receiving. Yeah. So I think it's really possible here. I don't want to. I don't suppose that I'm saying like. And so of course they get to find out now. But it's just like.
Just.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. Oh, are you reading to me?
This song it is.
I think what you want to
Central. I was assigned to. Okay. Yeah, because I'm the one that's.
Okay, so you deliberately not asking. Okay, we would just want. Okay.
Oh, it's in there?
Yes. Oh, I see it.
It's here.
Yes. Sorry, and I misunderstood. That's so funny.
Wait, girl, I gotta back up. I was just hanging out with Ruben and Sam.
The nature of the photo makes me look at it, and I'm going to facilitate.
Sam, they're not able to see next part, and I'm not quite sure if Mary's got it set up right or.
And I don't even know if we have bylaws, I just see ordinances, so usually say no bylaws. It's so here, I mean, you know, I got all those. Yeah, there are ones that are permanent in nature, like. I did remember all the ordinances. All of gone. It's interesting, one of the words. That would be interesting. But like Margaret said, every gable bottom line first under the age of 50. You know, it's always kind of interesting. Yeah. And I mean, this is interesting. Yeah, that's not. So, screwed up for running. We didn't say. Then, but we know to survive. Sorry. That is actually really helpful, so we was reading it the whole time. So we got it. Yeah. So that was really good to do that. And hopefully there's another adjustment. Then besides any condition. I looked at, I was looking at some, it's from 18. And and said, we're gonna combine the zoning board of adjustment and the planning commission. Because many towns have done that. Plus, when they wanted to. Here, they got it wrong. The zoning commission. And the commission get combined. Sorry, just doesn't get combined with us. Every day was something. No. Pieces by ordinance was $5 and $10, and now they have a resolution exceeded that. But I was thinking it's $30 by resolution, but nobody went into that. But my peers show the ordinances. Oh, good, we can charge $20 plus $10. Things are so screwy here. So. First result. Something very funny. Affordable housing. I think the reason it's split. I think the rules stuff. I knew it. I just like. Just another one. It is. Yeah, well, yours is his bar, but this one's on. And to say that this is what responsible. For. So contract, like, $60. What's that? It's like I won't stay like. Stress too. No. It's happening. Put down elm trees, some of the side limbs, it's like, I think they included bark, and I just feel afraid it's from what's happened to other ones where they can just rip off and trunks. But it's just not being easy to bring us to things, so I was thinking, if you can just start somewhere. Just, or do I keep more? I don't know. But it's. They did not have some tree in the forest, it was lazy. Old, so it's like. It's good. You like from the tree, it's like. Some things. White top, but you know, the roof, they got all that to do. She's like, the deer,
He's only, you're eating all the tuna. 52%, just skeletons all around. So anyway, but it's an interesting place, they keep on their shoe it isn't. But I just said I have a new strategy or love. It's a where I choose. I think it's just but this guy here. He doesn't have a huge selection. And if he told me that he can, and he does these liners. I can buy 10 mixed liners, 5 each liners for I think this price is $2. So, but he has a lot of stuff, but there's a picture of this house. I don't know, is it, why is he looking at the bridge? It looks like on the back road. But isn't that interesting? So, our plans. Let me see. Time beach selection. Shrubs and then. You know, some of the.
You know.
And there's different pronunciations of things, anomalies. That shows us. You know, that's like the regular economics is that. Which I have on there. And then there's so anyway, I see. But I don't know, it's the text. Yeah, there was a website I saw and all these sold out. Just excited. Because I bought them to reserve a sequel and currents, you know, so anyway. Anyway, so he.
I don't know, they're getting, that's just like, so it depends. They're getting legal advice, so it really depends.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When you're back.
So
that's it. Oh, we got the mayor's report and that's it.
That's it.
I don't know.
And we're gonna be out of here before 9:30. As long as this isn't.
That was.
Thank you.
I was all like, wow, I might get home before my husband goes to bed.
I know. So I just. I if he's really. I don't have people coming on, just demonstrating. Business, but. You know, I guess he doesn't, but you know, never know. That means that I can set it up and it's free, but. So he's. Anyway. Thank you. Lord, Michelle, you continue. Very anxious. Thank you.
And I would take some.
Very positive.
I guess so. I think that's. Oh, we have lost our coordinate. Dave is gone, we have lost our coordinate, and no longer conduct this.
Oh, Dave, oh, no.
We only have one, two.
I'm still here.
Did they ever leave?
Oh, yeah, 5.
I thought the before was what you had.
Oh, you didn't leave.
You got a quorum.
Nothing's more important than this channel.
Time is now 9:02 PM and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were trustee Smith, trustee Weber, trustee Markle, trustee Knudsen, Nick Bies and, Nick Cotton Bies, I'm sorry, and, interim town administrator Klusmeyer and Mayor Backer. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred during the executive session, or that improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Hearing none. Do we have a motion?
Move that we direct our town staff to pursue an encroachment permit with the property owner.
Okay, you have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Right, that motion passes. All right, I don't think my report got into the thing, that's okay.
The mayor's report was after.
Yeah, it was very exciting. All right, I'll ask. I move to be adjourned. All right, thank you, everyone.
Whatever.
Yeah, we're on. We're out of here.
Okay. See you later.
And
Pick one.
pick one,
Pick a day.
anyone. Your choice, political day, whatever. Well.
We're interchangeable.
Dave told Dave. Whatever. Thank you. Good meeting.